burned. I recommend you get down here as quickly as possible. And the next thing I heard was crying and screaming, whatever. And then all of a sudden I heard a man's voice. I guess she handed the phone to her husband. I repeated the story. He thanked me. I hung up the phone. I said, can I make one more call? I figured, well, let me call my wife. The guy says, sure. He heard the conversation. He goes, of course. So I dialed. I hit send. Nothing. Dead. I went, forget that carrier. But I don't know what to do. I'm going crazy. All of a sudden, the phone, where am I going to find a phone? I see a restaurant. Restaurant, they have phones. I go running into the restaurant. I bump into the waiter. I says, excuse me, can I use your phone? The waiter looks at me and goes to me, well, it's not my restaurant. It's not my phone. I'm thinking, what's wrong with you? I saw two people on the phones in the back. I push right past the guy. I run to the back. There's a woman sitting there. She goes, do you need a phone? I go, yeah. She goes, you're going to have to wait. Wait. I can't wait. You don't understand. This is an emergency. There were two guys sitting there, and they were eating breakfast or lunch. I don't even know, because I had no idea what time it was. By the way, the first time I looked at my watch that day was 1:45. Get to that later. Guy looks at me, says to me, do you need a phone? My apartment is 5 doors down. You can come to my apartment and use my phone. Now, this is New York City. People in New York City don't do these things unless they're axe murderers. But I was desperate, and I went like, yeah, sure, thank you so much. And he says, okay, you know, he tells his friend, listen, I'm going to let this guy use my phone. We walk out of the restaurant. We go around the corner. His apartment building was like 5 doors down, and there was a payphone about 20 yards past his apartment. And he turns to the people online. He goes, if anybody needs a phone, you can come to my apartment and use my phone. Who was this guy? He opens the door. It was a 6-story walk-up. As God is my witness, I said, God, please let him live on the first floor. And he did. God, I was so happy. We walked up to his apartment. He opens the door to his apartment. I'm going to tell you something, this apartment, I have closets bigger than this apartment. His apartment was so small, you couldn't change your mind in his apartment. That's how small it was. But he had a phone. He was very strange. He had no TV. I don't think he had a mirror in his apartment, because I remember I couldn't see what I looked like, because somebody later on asked me if I was okay. I said to him, you have a phone? Yeah, he points to the phone. I dial. I get a fast busy signal, trouble on the lines. I dial again, I get a fast busy. Somebody behind me says, do you mind if we try? I went, sure, go ahead. Guy picks up the phone, he dials, he goes, yeah, hi, honey, it's me. I'm in somebody's apartment. He hangs up the phone. The girl behind him, she goes next. She dials. Yeah, hi, honey, it's me. I'm thinking to myself, give me that phone. But I was civil. I went, do you mind if I try? They go, sure, go ahead. And I dial, fast busy. I'm telling you, I thought it was a conspiracy. I was so paranoid that day. I can't even begin to tell. I was paranoid for a month, by the way. It was like, I said, they missed me in the Trade Center, they're going to get me here. I said one more time, I dialed, and it started to ring. My heart was pounding. I was, oh, thank God. And all of a sudden, on the other end of the phone, Beno Space Yaakov, may I help you? My wife works, as I told you, in a school, Beno Space Yaakov. It's a school in Far Rockaway. And I go, Joyce Schonbrun, please. Who's calling? Her husband. Hold on. No, no, no. And then you get the music. They put you on hold. See, the problem is when they put you on hold, they put you on perma-hold. They put you on a hold and totally forget about you, figuring the music will satisfy you. That's okay. She finally picked up the phone. I'm telling you, it seemed like hours. It couldn't have been more than 60 seconds. And she picks up the phone, and I say, hi, honey, it's me. And she starts to cry. I said, honey, what's the matter? Tower 1 had collapsed. The last time she heard from me, where was I? I was on the 75th floor of Tower 1. She was sure I was dead. She was trying to figure out how she was going to tell my 4 kids that Daddy was dead. I had 2 older girls, 2 younger boys. My boys were all below the age of bar mitzvah. She was wondering who was going to say the martyr's prayer for me because I was dead. That's what she was living through. She lived through this twice. Thank God I got out, and thank God I'm around to talk about it and tell my story. She says to me, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. Maybe I'll go up to Ellie's office. Ellie's my brother. He worked on 47th Street and 6th Avenue. I said, maybe I'll go up there, but I have no idea. But I'll call you when I get to my next destination. That was the hardest part of the day. We're so used to being in constant contact with cell phones. The minute I hung up that phone, I couldn't get to her unless I picked up that phone or another landline. And that was hard. I was really tired. I turned to John Roccasalva. By the way, that was the guy's name. The guy's apartment it was, John Roccasalva. Never forget that name because the guy was a hero. I found out later, he was interviewed later by CNBC, by a reporter at CNBC, and it turns out that his phone bill from that day was over $300, just from that day. He let people call, he didn't care where, and the reporter asked him, he says, why? He goes, I had no other way of helping. That was my way of helping. So I looked at him, I said, John, do you mind if I hang out here for a few minutes? I'm a little tired. He goes, sure, no problem. I started to take off my shoes and socks, which were sopping wet. He looks at me, he says to me, oh, your socks are all wet. Would you like a clean pair of socks? You can have one of mine. I think, what's this guy, from Kansas? Certainly wasn't from New York. Guy was an absolute saint. Anyway, about 15 minutes, I realized I needed to get moving. And I said, all right, I figured I was going to walk to my brother's office. I left. I'm on 12th Street and 7th Avenue. I have no idea where I am. I don't think I'd ever been that part of Manhattan. So I turned to somebody and I said, because I know I need to get uptown. I said to somebody, I said, can you tell me how to get uptown? He goes, how to get uptown? He says, follow the crowd. Everybody's going uptown because sure as heck nobody's going downtown. So I followed the crowd. I got to 8th Avenue and 12th Street, and I remembered I had a friend of mine who had an office on 9th Avenue and 15th Street. But not just any office. The guy was a financial printer. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with these guys. They rape you every way they can. Anyway, he was a good friend of mine. His office, he had great office. I mean, he had showers, he had workout, he had everything. My only problem was I didn't have a change of clothes. Otherwise, trust me, I would have showered. So I get there, and I walk through the double doors, and the receptionist looks at me. She says to me, Ari, are you okay? I said, yeah. She goes, can I get you anything? I said, yeah. A conference room, a phone, and some water. I was really thirsty. And they were so nice, and they put me in a conference room, they gave me one, and I called everybody that I possibly could to let them know that I was alive. I couldn't use my phone, but I had my phone book in my phone, so I had everybody's number, so I was calling everybody. The only people I couldn't get a hold of that day were my parents. See, my parents live in Israel, and you couldn't get an international line out that day. So they were the only ones that I couldn't get a hold of. But, here's the good point, I had a niece who was living in Belgium, and she got a hold of my sister-in-law in West Hempstead. So my sister-in-law in West Hempstead told my niece in Belgium that I was alive, so she called my parents from Belgium to Israel to let them know that I was alive, so at least I knew that they knew that I was alive. If you missed any of that, see me later, I'll give you the whole story again. But it's really, the point was that my parents knew that I was alive, so I felt better. All of a sudden, guy comes in to me, says to me, excuse me, would you like some lunch? I go, lunch? What time is it? Look at my watch, 1:45. I said, you know, I really appreciate it, but I'm strictly kosher, so I don't think you can really help me. And the guy goes, oh, no problem. He says, there's a kosher deli down the block, across town. We have kosher clients here all the time. We'll order, they'll deliver. I go, they're not going to deliver. He goes, sure, they deliver all the time. I'm thinking to myself, this guy is clueless. I went, pastrami on rye, fries and a Coke, knock yourself out. Guy comes back about 2 minutes later, he goes, they won't deliver. Well, duh. But he felt so bad for me. They had a pantry. They had like chip snacks and orange juice and granola bars and the stuff, so I sat down and ate my lunch, chip snack, granola bars, and orange juice. I got a hold of my brother, and he wanted me to come uptown. I wanted him to come downtown. He won, and I said to him, all right, I'll come to your office, but whatever you do, do not leave until I get there. Because remember, I can't get in touch with him. So I left the office, and I started to head out, and I went up, and it was like a snow day without the snow. There wasn't a car on the road. 6th Avenue. If you've ever been to New York, you know how big 6th Avenue is? Bigger than this. 6th Avenue. Not a car in sight. The sun is shining. It was unbelievable. There were people sitting in outdoor cafes, and they were eating, and they were laughing, and I just been through hell, and I was so angry. I'm thinking, what is wrong with you people? I didn't say anything. I'm walking up 6th Avenue. All of a sudden, a New York City bus, pulls up and stops. I'm like, wow. So I ran a half a block to get onto it. I jump on it. I take out my Metro card, which is what we used to pay. And the bus driver looks at me and she goes, put that thing away. We're not charging today. I'm going, wow. Has New York City changed or what? This is great. I jump on the bus. She says, I'm not making regular stops. If you want to get off, pull the string, whatever. And I got out at 40. Some guy rang the bell at 45th Street. I got out. I walked to my brother's office. He was on 47th and 6th. His office was on a lower level, so you had to walk down the stairs and through double doors, one set of double doors, and then you walked further in, and there was another set of double doors. And I walked through, and I opened the second set, and my brother was standing there. And I hugged him, and I grabbed him, and I cried for 5 solid minutes. I'd been really, really strong that day. I needed to be. It was my survival. It was Virginia's survival. And then finally, there was somebody that I could rely on. And I just lost it. And my brother started to cry, and he hugged me, and he said to me, Ari, it's going to be okay. We're going to get out of here. How many times had I said those lines that day? So I calmed down. He calmed down. Everybody in his office going like, oh, what happened? What did you see? Everybody wanted to know. I said, we got to get back to, I live in Long Island, all right? So my brother wanted to take the railroad, and I'm going, the railroad's going to be a zoo. First of all, there's nothing moving out of Manhattan. You couldn't get out of Manhattan unless you walk. So I said, we can walk over the 59th Street Bridge. And then I said, I have a friend who has a car service, and she already told me that if I need a car outside of the city, she'll send the car to pick me up. And I went, great. So my brother says, let's take the subway. Now, I was going like, do I really want to go underground on a day where they're talking about terrorism and, it's not over? I really didn't. But he was very insistent. And he's my younger brother. So I said, okay, fine. We went underground. We actually got onto a subway. There was limited subway service, and we got out to Queens. We got out to Queens. The